Shalom, and welcome to The Truth Shall Set You Free. My name is Nuriyahu Ben Yehuda, and you may have seen the name of tonight's show. The name of tonight's show is Come Out of Her, My People, the call to separate. It's going to be a very, very interesting show, so please sit yourself down. Preferably you have your own paper, something to write with, and your Bible. If you don't, please get up and get that very quickly. Before we get started, I'd like my co-hosts to introduce themselves. Now go right across the table first.
Shalom. My name is Aharon Ben Israel.
Shalom. My name is Zakin, or Elder Shadaniah Ben Yisrael.
All right. Shalom, Zakanim. You all see that we have the both the elders at the table tonight, so we're gonna have a very, very in-depth conversation about something. Viewing audience, once again, we admonish you, not scold you, but we beg you, please get your Bible and follow along with us tonight, because we're going to take a trip. You might have asked yourself, come out of her who? Well, we could be talking about a system, we could be talking about a location. Let's go now and establish a biblical precedent for tonight's conversation. Revelation chapter 18, verses 4 and 5. And if Elder Aharon could read that for us, B'Bakashah.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you may not participate in her sin, and that you may not receive of her plague.
Let's stop right there for 1 second, elders, if y'all don't mind. Now, it appears that there's a voice coming from somewhere belonging to somebody, asking, demanding, commanding somebody to separate from somebody or something. Is that what you all glean from that?
Correct.
Yes,
So
right.
coming out means a separation, a division, a dividing, making a distinction.
Absolutely.
Because if these don't come out, they will be sinners, partake of sin. Somebody will influence them to sin.
Right.
And then, conversely, those who do the same sins as the her, they will be plagued as she will. Is that
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
That's right.
Huh? All right, Elder, if you could, verse 5.
For her sins have piled up as high as heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities.
You know, a lot of times people think that it appears that the Father is not either paying attention or he doesn't care, because it appears that they get away with a lot of stuff, right?
His hand is slack.
It's slack. It's too heavy, eye can't see, and nothing like that. But it says Elohim has remembered her iniquities. Now, viewing audience, for your edification, in Revelation chapter 18, sometimes, you know, we talk about the first being natural, the second being spiritual. Yes, there is a system, but normally systems are not referred to as her. Specifically in Revelation chapter 18, it's talking about a specific locale. And if you look at Revelation 18 in its entirety, it's identifying a city, but it's identifying a country also. The city on the short term is made known by a woman that sits in a particular bay. And she's got a crown on. And on the crown, she has 7 rays of the sun. It represents 7 continents that she sits on. We know her as the Statue of Liberty. But we know that's the statue of iniquity, because there's no liberty without the law.
No, that's right.
There is no liberty without the law. So, also looking at it, it talks about the woman, that city, is talking about a country. Because as we've probably have said to you before, and if you have not heard this, we understand that the Roman Empire, Rome itself, is a city in a country called Italy.
That's correct.
And the Vatican itself is a country within Rome, within a country. So point being, the United States of America is a country, but New York City is a city inside a state called New York State, which is in a country, United States of America. So long story short, viewing audience, this is several-fold. Not just talking about coming out of a spiritual system, but at a particular time, removing oneself physically from something. Before we really get into the meat of tonight's subject matter, I would like to share some things with the viewing audience that you may not have read before, heard about heretofore. We came across some information back in 1999 called Project Megiddo. And this is directly from the website of the FBI. But before I read to you all some information relative to tonight's subject matter, there was something that we got off the internet earlier this week, or rather last week, from a site called hardtruth.topcities. And it's a flyer. The flyer comes from Phoenix, Arizona. And it's a flyer that has an outside and an inside. But on the outside of the flyer is being circulated right now in Maricopa County in Arizona. It says, if you encounter any of the following, call the Joint Terrorism Task Force. Now, this is interesting. On this flyer that's being circulated in Phoenix right now, this flyer was primarily printed when the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building took place in Oklahoma City. It was put out first then, but now they begin to put it back out. This is very, very intrinsic to tonight's conversation about separation, because we're going to set the record straight tonight that we, as the children of Israel, who serve Yah in spirit and truth, and who accept Yahshua as HaMashiach, we are not fearful of man. We have no desire to side with anybody who may decide to come against this country, nor do we have to pick up arms to come against this country ourselves. Yah is our strength. Yah is our reward. That's what he told Abraham. Is that right? All the children of Israel got to do is be obedient. He said, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. That's all he said, right? But let me finish reading this, viewing audience. It says, the FBI's Joint Task Force is attempting to identify criminal activities with domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorists? Now, there's a lot of things floating around today, because we have that Patriot bill that talks about domestic terrorism. There's a redefining of what terrorism actually is. There's a demonization process going on. If you rename it and you demonize it, you can destroy it.
That's right.
You reclassify it from what it was originally, then you re-identify it to the masses as a whole, then you can come against it. I submit to you in the viewing audience, there's a definition right now that you might fall under that might make you a terrorist in the eyes of the United States government. But listen to this. In this regard, the purpose of this information sheet is to assist uniformed patrol officers in identifying potential domestic terrorism. Look how they define domestic terrorism. It is defined as groups or individuals operating entirely inside the United States, attempting to influence the United States government or population to affect political and or social change by engaging in criminal activity. Now, that's a very subjective phrase. They don't define what criminal activity is. But listen, in the event questionable activity, and they leave questionable open, in the event questionable activity is encountered, contact the individuals named in this brochure for clarification. And they give names of the investigator of Maricopa County Attorney's Office, FBI in Phoenix, and a Maricopa County Sheriff's Office analyst. But listen to what they put under the guise of domestic terrorism. Not the guise, more or less, but those particular groups or philosophies that now fall into the domestic terrorism sphere. Right-wing extremists, they consider those who are defenders of the United States Constitution, that are all you folk right now who came to this country from Europe and other places, who love their citizenship, who love the values of America, you know, God, apple pie, and mom. Got that red, white, and blue, you know, flying outside. All who value the Constitution. Defenders of the U.S. Constitution against federal government and the United Nations. They call you super patriots. Groups or individuals engaged in paramilitary training. Listen to this. Single issue terrorists. What would be a single issue for them to consider you a terrorist? Those who advocate animal rights. Those who advocate not harming the ecology. The ecosystem. Listen.
The Green Party.
The Green Party. Greenpeace. Listen. Those who they define as doomsday, apocalyptic, cult-type groups. Maybe that's somebody that believes in the end-day prophecies of Daniel, of the book of Revelation, of anything else that has a prophetic insight into the condition of the world, the apostasy of man, the placement of the children of Israel, our people, and the relevancy of that to the one that's called the Antichrist or the man of sin. Check this out. Final classification group, hate groups, skinheads, neo-Nazis, black separatists, the KKK, Christian identity, and white nationalists. Now, you might ask yourself, now, brother, well, we tuned in, and we weren't really considering that you was going to be talking about something like that. Well, we're going to let you all know in the viewing audience, we are not a religion. We don't deal with a spirituality. We are the physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because of that, they were never given a religion. We don't practice Judaism, Islam, Christianity, or anything like that. We are not defined by the popular culture. What gives us our shape, our form, is the law of Yah. Outside having a relationship with Yah, we have no form. Outside Abraham being a Hebrew, we can't be Hebrews. Is that right?
That's right.
But the relevancy of all that as it relates to a separation, I read this earlier this week, and the Father said to me, you need to talk about the fact that I, Yah, am a separatist. Now you might say in the viewing audience, the Father's a separatist? You better believe it, and we're going to back it up with biblical precedents, biblical facts. We're not about to have a roundtable discussion as other people do and talk for about an hour about what they think is going on in Bible prophecy. We're going to talk about what's written, and we're not going to give our own personal opinion. We were told by Peter, we have a more sure word of prophecy. Is that right? And we're going to go to what's written. But before we do this, this is Project Megiddo, bits and pieces, viewing audience. It says, the attached analysis entitled Project Megiddo is an FBI strategic assessment of the potential for domestic terrorism in the United States, undertaken in anticipation of or response to the arrival of the new millennium. Now, we know nothing happened per se on the surface with the coming in of the year 2000, but there has been an assessment of the children of Israel who refer to themselves in this country as Hebrews, who are Israelites, by the FBI. You will hear their own words as they assess us. Justifiable demonization if you are the enemy. First portion, and we're going to get right into the crux of this. Under their subtitle of Interpretations of the Bible, it says, religiously based domestic terrorists use the New Testament's book of Revelation, the prophecy of the end time, for the foundation of their belief in the apocalypse. Now, apocalypse means hidden.
That's it.
But people use today apocalypse with end time. So today, apocalypse is synonymous with doom, the end of days. But apocalypse just means, it's taken from apocalypsis, which is secret or hidden. That's what they call the books of the Apocrypha, hidden books. That's all. Is that right? Religious extremists interpret the symbolism portrayed in the book of Revelation and mold it to predict that the end time is now and that the apocalypse is near. To understand many religious extremists, we are called religious extremists, it is crucial to know the origin of the book of Revelation and the meanings of its words, numbers, and characters. Very briefly, one interpretation describing the essence of the message contained in Revelation is that Yah will overcome his enemies, the Roman government and Satan, and that the persecuted community should persevere. For right-wing groups, we're considered a right-wing group, I'll show you how, who believe they are being persecuted by the satanic government of the United States, the book of Revelation's message fits perfectly into their worldview. And I quote, black Hebrew Israelites. Let's make a distinction for the viewing audience, elders, could we? Is there any such thing as a black Hebrew Israelite?
No.
I mean, because if I'm understanding, huh?
Not that I can't equate black Hebrew Israelite.
Because, I mean, maybe this is just too simplistic, and maybe I'm just off here. If there's a black Hebrew Israelite,
There must be a white.
there must be a white one. So if we say that we're black Jews, then that means there's got to be a white Jew.
Right.
Is that right?
It doesn't equate.
It doesn't equate. It never said Abraham, one came and called Abraham the black Hebrew, did it?
No.
It said one came and called Abraham the Hebrew. That's what it says, right? In Genesis chapter 14, verse 13. Huh? But it says black Hebrew Israelites who are a black supremacist group. Let me make sure that you all in the viewing audience understand what we're about to say to you, and you have a perfect handle on it. Black supremacy has nothing to do with the righteousness of Yah. Yah don't deal with people because they black by the definition of the popular culture or because they're white.
That's right.
Mendelssohn,
That's right.
if I'm not mistaken on that name, or Mendel, whoever he was, he has something to do with the classification of Caucasoid, huh?
Gregor Mendel.
Mendel?
Gregor Mendel, who was the who was actually called the father of genetics.
Right.
He was the
Anthropology.
one who did study in biology.
Right.
Chromosomes, traits, characteristics, dominant traits as opposed to recessive traits. And he was a Gentile who, again, who was considered as the father of genetics, who came up with the, not theory, with the absolute information in reference to which traits of human beings were dominant and which traits were recessive. And he came up with the information that tells us that you can get a recessive trait from a dominant trait, but you can never, and this is a fact,
that's right,
that you can never get a dominant trait from a recessive. Right. Recessive from dominant, but never dominant from recessive.
Very interesting.
So when you begin to look at people, human beings, characteristics, traits, eye color, hair color, and things like that, then you begin to see which traits are dominant and which traits are recessive. And
this is interesting. Oh, I didn't mean to cut your thought. So is it also fair to say, using that theory, or these are facts now, no longer theorizing, is it fair to say that based on where one lives in the world, his hue, his melanation content, whether or not he's perceived as one who's dark or lighter, one who's possessing melanin or one who's absent of melanin, is it fair to say that based on where one lives in the world, in proximity to the equator, it lets you know that if you possess melanin and you're close to the equator, then you're more natural. You're native more to that area. But conversely, using your example, if you don't possess melanin and you're in and along the equator, that means that you're alien and foreign to that part of the world.
Absolutely. It also means that one who possesses melanin could not, it would be virtually impossible to come from one who does not possess melanin. In other words, where there is presence of color as opposed to lack of color. Color cannot come from lack of color.
Absolutely.
But no color can come from one who has or possesses color. So that's getting into the biological, scientific, and it all supports, you know, a lot of things that a lot of people don't like to admit.
And they get very uncomfortable talking about it. And the fact that we're having this conversation right now, they would now label us as hate mongers, black supremacists. But see, we don't advocate what the Nation of Islam allegedly either does or used to about the Asiatic black man that make it the owner of the cream of the planet Earth. We ain't talking about no nonsense like that, because evil knows nothing as it relates to melanation or hue. See, there are no races on this planet. We read clearly in the book of Genesis that Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth. And by these 3 sons was the entire earth overspread. That's what's written, right? If that's the case, Noah had 1 wife. Noah didn't have a black wife and a brown wife or a yellow wife and a white wife to get a rainbow coalition walking up off that ark. We know that to be true, right? And if that's the case, then how can you be anti-Shem? I'm from Shem.
Absolutely.
But now the word or the designate anti-Semitic is being used to make it appear to nullify your message and the validity of what you're saying if you point out truths that make people uncomfortable. So if I say that Jewish people don't come originally from the part of the world that we're from, that's anti-Semitic. If we say that Arabs are not part and parcel from that part of the world that they're fighting over, what does that make us now? Because if Arabs allegedly are the children of Ishmael and Jewish people are allegedly the children of Isaac, then they must be brothers then. So my point being, how can Arabs be anti-Semitic if they're supposed to be Semitic people?
Absolutely right. That's right. It's a good question. Absolutely.
How does that work? Neither one of them have a claim to that land. No, just like it's written in the book of Nehemiah or Ezra, I forget which it is because my mind's somewhere else right now. These people who had no part in rebuilding the temple and restoring the city, they said, we worship Yah the way you worship him. They said, it don't pertain unto you to build this temple.
That's right.
They were half-breeds. Now, we're not saying that Jewish people have any Hebrew blood. We're not saying that Arabs have any Hebrew blood. They have nothing to do with this conversation as it relates to delineating towards the facts. The original children of Israel are melanated people who you would call today black. But point being, blackness does not by definition impute or imply righteousness.
No, it doesn't.
All the people in the days of old were black folk, if you want to get down to it.
That's right.
Nimrod was a black man, and he was against Yah.
Yes, he
Hamites
was.
were black.
Thank
Hamites were
you.
black, but they were evil.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Wicked.
Absolutely.
Through and through. So when did being black automatically impute righteousness? It does for people who have been stripped of identity, have no self-esteem, have no self-respect. They got to now stand on this generic, I'm black, I'm black. Black means what? Black don't mean nothing. There's no black land to go back to. There's no black food except the slave diet.
See, the bottom line is that this is what imputes righteousness.
That's right.
Right here.
That's right.
That's it.
And everyone has one of these.
That's right.
Yes, they do.
So it depends on how you view your life and how you view others
That's right.
and where your value systems are. This is what imputes righteousness.
Absolutely.
How you see
And how
here.
you relate
Absolutely.
to Yah.
That's right.
That's your righteousness.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go over that too. And we're going to try to tie this whole thing together, viewing us, to show you that we're not just sitting up here rambling. Like I said, we don't have no coffee, no tea, and some crumpets up here, you know, to be eating some finger cookies, you know, just have a little, you know, like the View in the morning. We ain't doing that, because we understand, viewing audience, that right now it says the days are at hand and the effects of every vision. The vision is not tarrying anymore. If you've been noticing, according to what's happening in the world right now, it appears that the prophetic clock is speeding up.
Yes,
Or maybe we've been the ones lagging behind, and the Father has been getting our attention through the means in which He's chosen to do. But let me just put all this together. It says, bring this whole thing together. It says, violent Hebrew Israelite followers can generally be described as proponents of an extreme form of black supremacy. We're worse, I guess, than black Muslims, whatever that's supposed to be. Drawing upon the teachings of earlier adherents, such groups hold that blacks represent Yah's true chosen people. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because if I'm not mistaken, people who are as black, if we're going to talk about that, on the west coast of Africa, helped sell us into slavery.
Yes, they
There's
did.
slavery going on right now in sub-Saharan Africa, in the Sudan. All those areas right now, black folk who are Muslims are being sold into slavery by your unmelanated, what you would call Caucasian or white Muslims. So if I stand up right now and say, well, I can't be a Christian because that's the white man's religion, why should I be a Muslim when Muslims brought us into captivity also?
Yes, they did.
We don't understand why Kunta Kinte's father, when he was born, held him up to the sky and said, the only thing greater than yourself. He was talking about Allah. We don't understand why Kunta Kinte was a Muslim. He was brought Islam and his people by the edge of the sword.
Yes, they were.
Huh?
Yeah. If they
right.
didn't
That's right,
convert, they died.
They died.
That's right, Aki.
Islam is a religion not just of compulsion. You either convert or you die. But Islam is idolatry. And we're going to do some shows in the future to show you that Yah does make a difference between the moon god, Allah, and between him, whose name is Yah, that he gave unto the children of Israel. I know people don't like to hear that, but this ain't about what we need to hear no more, or want to hear. This is what we need to hear. Listen to this, everybody. It says, as God's, quote-unquote, authentic Jews, Hebrew Israelites believe that mainstream Jews are actually imposters. First of all, we need to make a distinction for the viewing audience once again. We ain't Jews.
No, we're not.
I don't consider myself a black Jew. I didn't convert to Judaism. My mother's not a Jew. My mother is a Hebrew who's an Israelite.
Absolutely.
See,
Absolutely.
we have a prophetic word that proves and verifies who we are. Jewish people can't prove who they are, not by this book called Bible.
Okay, absolutely.
Huh? When
Can't
did
do
Jewish
that.
people go into captivity?
Can't do that.
Into the hulls of ships. Huh?
Can't do that. I challenge anyone.
See,
You can't do that.
They
there.
throw the
That's that.
Holocaust up day and night.
That's done.
And they tell us to forget what happened to us. No, no, no.
No.
Can't
No,
be
no.
done.
Y'all said you might forget, but I'm not going to forget.
right.
Huh? He said, I've written you on the palms of my hands. Your gates are ever before me. Y'all ain't forgot nothing.
Never.
So, I got to say this. Asking for compensatory damages, reparations, hoping that that's going to make the Father kind of go easy on the descendants of the people that brought us over here is asinine, it's ludicrous. Because you can give us as much money in the coffers of the Treasury of the United States of America and the Federal Reserve. Y'all is still going to get with your backside.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he is.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all has a controversy with the nations.
That's right. That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
He that touches you has touched the apple of my eye.
That's right.
You asking for reparations, you asking for the Father to break his foot off in your back.
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen. But we're going to talk about that at another day. Let's go on further. The extreme elements of the Hebrew Israelite movement are prone to engage in violent activity. As seen in previous convictions, Hebrew Israelite followers, adherents of this philosophy, have a proven history of violence, and several indications point towards a continuation of this trend. That's all I want to read about that. But under apocalyptic cults, y'all got to hear this, viewing audience. Many apocalyptic cults share the belief that the battle against Satan, as prophesied in the book of Revelation, will begin in the years surrounding the millennium, and that the federal government is an arm of Satan. They right on that part. Yes, the federal government is an arm of Satan. Or have you not checked out that brand new Patriot bill? You might be a terrorist if you dissent with what the government says. You know, big brother. But check this out. In the broadest meaning, cults are composed of individuals who demonstrate great devotion to a person, an idea, object, or movement. So because we devoted to Yah, and we proclaim to be Yahshua as the Messiah, we're a cult. See, we're going to have to set the stage, y'all. We're doing it right now by laying this stuff out for you. Listen to this. The origin of the cult, the role of its leader, and its uniqueness provide a framework for understanding what distinguishes cults from other domestic terrorist groups that otherwise share similar characteristics. These distinctions are: 1, cult leaders are self-appointed. We are now cult leaders because we are now the leadership of our congregation. We have not been appointed by the government. We don't have a minister's license given to us by the state. So that makes us now cult leaders. Listen to this. Persuasive persons who claim to have a special mission in life or have special knowledge. Oh, if we say that Yah has called us to teach, that makes us also a cult leader. Listen. A cult's idea and dogma claim to be innovative and exclusive. We're talking about serving Yah and not serving man. Because Yahshua said no man can serve two masters.
Yes, right.
So because we espouse this, and if you, who they consider to be fundamentalist Christians, say we have only one king, and you say that's not Caesar, you're in the cult. Listen to this. Also, cult leaders focus their members' love, devotion, and allegiance on themselves. Well, we ain't got that problem here.
No.
But I would submit to you in the viewing audience, you better check your church out. You better check your mosque out. You better check out your Hebrew Messianic community. Is your Messianic leader pointing you to serve him or her? Then maybe you are a part of a cult. We know a few cults around. There's one called the KOG. That's a cult. There's one called the Nation of Yahweh, by one who's in prison. You know, the Son of Man is locked up now on federal charges. That's a cult. That's a cult. I guess we shouldn't be saying that because we're now airing our dirty laundry. Yahshua said there is nothing that's hidden that shall not be revealed. He said, what I say unto you in the ear, that you get on top of the house and you proclaim. We're going to say it with a loud voice because we're not afraid. Not of black folk, not coons, not today. Huh? All right. Let us go. Elder Shaddai Babakashai, could you take us to Isaiah chapter 51, verse 7? Viewing audience, we just want to set this up for you. Please, you see our email site right there, our address? Please email us. Call us. We want to hear from you. If you have any questions, prayerfully, if the Father's blessed us with wisdom and understanding, we'll make an effort to answer it. If not, we'll seek someone out according to the Spirit and truth and direct you to them. We're in Isaiah chapter 51, verse 7. This is all in concert with what we just read to set this thing up for everybody. Go ahead, Elder Babakashai.
Okay. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness.
Now stop you right there for a second, Elder. Now everybody on this planet don't know righteousness. We read in the book of Romans that Paul said, how now can they believe in whom they've never heard of? How can they hear except they have a teacher? How could he teach except he be sent? That's what's written, right? So now people who have the Father's Spirit have to be sent to you to teach you knowledge, to teach you righteousness.
Can I define
Please.
Righteousness?
Please, Elder.
To me, I feel as though this is about the best definition that I could possibly think of in terms of what righteousness really is. Righteousness is Yah's standard
That's it.
of purity.
That's right.
Yah's standard of purity. Yah's standard.
Not man's.
Not man's standard.
Okay.
Yah's standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if righteousness is Yah's standard, then this is the method by which we must review this standard.
That's right.
That's
Because it's here.
That's right.
That's right.
Anything that is outside of here, then now we're talking opinion.
That's all we're talking.
That's
So if you have a viewpoint concerning issues, irregardless of the issue, if it is something that is not supported by this book,
That's right.
then it is not Yah's standard.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's right. It's the world.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Please.
Again,
Yes.
hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law.
That's what you were just talking about, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the Father defines His law as righteousness.
Absolutely.
So if you do not
That's
obey
right.
the
That's
Father's
right.
law, you ain't righteous.
That's right.
right.
That's a
right.
separation there.
That's right.
Because that right there is
That's right.
diametrically opposite
That's
what
right,
the world
Akeem.
says. The world, Christianity specifically says, we ain't under the law. So that means they're not righteous in the eyes of the Father, but they're righteous in the eyes of man. But man is not from where their salvation flows.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Elder.
And just one thing on
Please,
that.
please.
When it says we are not under the law, first of all, most people can repeat that
Right.
because they hear that,
Yes.
but they don't understand
No, they
what
don't.
that really means.
No, they don't.
It has nothing to do. Not being under the law has nothing to do with not having to obey the law.
That's right.
It has nothing to do
Nothing.
with it.
Nothing. Nothing. They don't understand.
That when you believe that not being under the law has everything to do with being obedient to the law or not having to be obedient to the law, you have a childish view
That's right.
of Scripture.
That's right.
It does not mean that.
No.
And furthermore, what covenant are you under?
Well, now see, you know, that might be an entire 2 more or 3 more cable shows because they don't understand, Elder. That right there, right? If people understood that, they couldn't nullify. He said the law was a schoolmaster to bring us unto the Messiah.
That's it.
But wait a minute, if the law was a schoolmaster and you will not be taught by the schoolmaster, how do you get brought into the Messiah?
That's right.
Huh?
Where you going?
Yeshua said, wait a minute, you search the scriptures for them, you think you have everlasting life. They bear witness of me.
Exactly.
He said, but you don't believe Moses' word, therefore you can't believe what I say.
That's right.
That's right.
Go ahead,
That's
Elder.
right. Okay. It says, fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their reviling.
Let's just stop on that for a second. Because in this particular world, especially in the system run by Satan, when you try to do the law of the Father, you try to establish a distinction in the eyes of the Father for him to know that you want to belong to him by obeying him. You try to live holy. People now reproach you. They revile you. They remember the days when you may have, let's say, stole, robbed, gotten high, was a whoremonger, male or female. Maybe you had some abortions. Maybe you were a liar. But the Father now puts a new spirit in you. Your heart is circumcised. You repent. You are now converted.
That's right.
And you're waiting for the time of regeneration. Now people reproach you. They revile you. He said, don't be afraid of that. I want to give you on the viewing audience the definition for the word in Hebrew of afraid. 2865 is the actual number in the Strong's Concordance. The word is khatat. Khatat. Its definition is this. Listen very carefully because these things are being brought to bear on us today to make us afraid to speak the living words of Yah. Listen. Afraid is defined as to break down either by violence, you know, threatening you with incarceration, threatening your loved ones. Watch this, because it's coming in the future. Or by confusion, what's going on right now with the controlled media is doing nothing but bringing greater confusion. Or by confusion and fear. Let's just put a little anthrax out there. Let's threaten them with the possibility that they may have a nuclear warhead exploded in one of their metropolitan cities. Let's make them forget from where their salvation comes. David said, I will look unto the hills from where comes my salvation. Huh?
That's right.
That's what he said. Now check this out now. If you want to turn with us, if you all don't mind too. Matthew chapter 10. And Elder Aharon Bebakashah, if you could take us, if you don't mind, to verse 17.
10 and 17.
Yes. If you notice Matthew or Yahoo, chapter 10, we're going to read verses 17 through 23. Please, Elder. Through 22, rather.
Nor do men put new wine.
No, chapter 10, Elder, verse 17.
Oh, that's 9. Sorry.
That's all right.
Too fast.
That's all right.
But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you shall even be brought before governors and kings for my sake.
Trying to intimidate you, trying to make you fearful, trying to make you ultimately deny Yah and Yahshua by putting things out like Project McGill, like calling you a black separatist to shut your mouth. But right now, in this particular time of prophecy, if we shut our mouth, then how is the world going to know this thing?
That's right.
Not that the Father can't work through nobody else, but Yah himself has raised us up.
That's right.
Not man. Huh? Had it been left up to man, look, what would we be right now? We still be those bones in the valley, we be dry.
That's right.
Go ahead.
As a testimony to them and to the Gentiles.
Go ahead, Elder.
But when they deliver you up.
Not if they deliver you, when they deliver you up.
Right. Do not become anxious about how or what you will speak.
Right.
For it shall be given you in that hour what you are to speak. For it is not you who speak.
Wait a minute, say that again, Elder.
But it is not you who speak.
Now, see, if we don't have that type of faith, you'll get broke down by fear. We just read what it said about afraid. It said, but it is not you that speak. But go ahead, Elder.
But it is the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you.
That's deep, ain't it?
That's right.
Check that out. Go ahead, Elder. Verse 21.
And brother will deliver up brother to death.
They don't believe that.
Yes, they do.
They don't
better believe
They show better. It's written. It says your brother is going to deliver you up. You think that's not going to happen because you think, what, blood is sticking in water? I tell you what, when it's time for the physical administration of the mark in your right hand on your forehead, your brother going to deliver you up.
That's right.
That's what's written. Go ahead.
And a father his child.
Now, wait a minute. Not the child who's behind he whites.
Yes,
that put through school. Huh?
Hey.
Huh?
Hey.
He going to deliver the child, right?
That's right.
Go ahead, Elder.
And children will rise up against parents.
Wait a minute. The children, their parents took care of them all their life. Now, because the parents keep the laws of Yah and bear witness to Yahshua, the children going to say, you crazy, you ain't my parents, you got to go. We're going to turn you in. DCFS going on right now.
Doing that now.
Doing that right now. Go ahead, Elder.
And cause them to be put to death.
Now watch this.
And you will be hated by all on account of my name.
Not because of the name of Jesus.
No.
Not Muhammad. Not Buddha. Not Allah. But by the name of Yahshua. That's what's going to cause you to be hated. And you got to understand that all you, even you Israelites who still cling to this pagan Jesus stuff, Jesus is going to get you put in the lake. But Yahshua saves. He said, be it known unto all you. It is not because of something we done that this man stands here whole.
That's right.
But by the name of Yahshua. That's what he said.
That's exactly.
They better read what's written.
Acts 4:12.
That's
they
what it
better
said.
read what it says.
No other name, right?
That's
He didn't
right.
say it was a few. It's some up in heaven.
No.
Oh, he said it's none under the heaven.
And which name was that was supposed to be, I believe in Acts 2, Elder? Well, they're supposed to be making us forget. They're supposed to be wiping away, blasting away. I mean, continue, just destroy the name so that no man
That's right.
might know that name.
Might know it.
What was that name?
The name is Yahshua.
Absolutely, because if the name was Jesus, they didn't do a very good job, did they?
It's still on the lips.
The whole world knows that name now.
That's right.
So,
Hey.
That's right.
You know, something to think about.
That's right. Verse 22, Elder.
Let me start again.
Please.
And you will be hated by all on account of my name.
Absolutely.
But it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved.
Wait a
That's
minute.
right.
Endurance till the end implies that you got to be here throughout what the Christian world is trying to escape, called the Great Tribulation. That means the reward ain't found at the beginning or the middle. The reward is found where?
At the end.
Only if you endure. These are the words of life.
That's right.
Peter said to the Messiah, after the Messiah said, are you going to leave also? He said, and go where? Master, you got the words of life. Here go the words of life, but you will not come unto him that you might be saved.
Absolutely.
That's the problem right there. Huh?
Absolutely.
Let's go on further. Let's look down at verse in the same chapter you all. Verse 28. Because we got the latest thing out. Go ahead, Elder.
And do not fear those who kill the body.
Because some of us going to be murdered. That's what's written.
Yeah,
huh?
that's right. But are unable to kill the soul.
That's right.
But rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
That's right. And put that body in the grave. Final
That's
two
right.
places, if you don't mind, verse 32 and verse 33, Babakasha. Because this is what it all comes down to. They're trying to make us so afraid where we, A, don't want to do cable shows, don't get on radio, don't get on the internet and warn people, don't go on the streets, don't make tracts, don't make flyers. Shut our mouths. Watch this. And in shutting your mouth, this is what you do.
Right. Everyone, therefore, who shall confess me before men, I will also confess him before my Father who is in heaven.
Wait a minute, elders. That means that that's not just sitting talking about Yahshua behind closed doors with people who already know. That means sharing him. He said, go you into the world. Is that right?
Correct.
You confess me before me, I will confess your name before the Father. Because guess what? His confession of our name before the Father is the only thing that's getting us into that kingdom.
That's it.
And I might add to this, Ikea.
Please.
That in what we just went over, we just read, Elder, and speaking of those who last through this thing, called the Great Tribulation. You know, it's about surviving.
That's all
it's
this is
about
about.
standing for His name, because there may come a time when you're in this thing that you're going to have to stand for Yeshua's name.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And it's not, and so
Absolutely.
therefore, I mean, you can't do that here if you're going to be raptured out of here.
Can't
That's
do it.
right.
So obviously,
Can't do it.
obviously, we're going to have to go through this, and we're going to have to go through some hard times during this great tribulation.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to go through a great Holocaust.
That's right.
Let me point out something here.
Please.
Flip over to the First Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. Here Shaul is talking about Yeshua's return.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out one simple word that we overlook when
That's right.
when we read some of Shaul or Paul's writing.
Right,
Okay, let's look at the 15th verse.
right.
And most of Christians, you all know this. You know where I'm going with this. But do you really know?
Right.
15, it says, "For this we say unto you by the word of Yah,
Right.
that which we who are alive and remain." Now, remain.
Now say that again.
The word remain.
Remain.
Remain. Now,
Okay.
remain. Why is that word remain? Now, that's a strange word to be.
Right.
I mean, think about. Let's think. Audience, think about that word remain.
Right, right.
Huh.
Remain. So that means that
You got to be here.
you're going to have to be in something, and you're going to have to go through this thing, and you're going to have to stick it out until the end.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that means you're going to have to go through some changes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
see? So you're going to have to survive a Holocaust.
That's right.
So to speak.
Right.
So this is important.
That's
Just
right.
think about that word, people. You know, and maybe you never thought about it before, but you know, now that we've gone over it here,
Right.
think about it.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. And Elder, you were about to read verse 33, the final
33.
place.
But whoever shall deny me before me, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven.
We can not only, you can deny the Father and the Messiah through thought, through word, through action. And people don't understand that. Well, no. If your life is a life of rebellion and you live in iniquity,
Yeah.
is a hallmark of your life. Iniquity is lawlessness.
That's right.
Lawlessness means you have no desire to obey the Father's will. You are a law unto yourself. So therefore, when it comes time to receive the reward called everlasting life, you don't have the power to give yourself that, but you didn't have the desire to serve him who could give you that.
That's
right.
So now we got a problem.
That's right.
They want the reward, but they don't want to do the necessary footwork. So now their faith is dead because they have no works. And the
That's
works
right.
they thought they got going to be tested and burnt.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be heavenly bound, but earthly no good.
Good.
Ain't that
That's right.
Let's take them to the very beginnings of where we're going to start this thing to make a distinction and why Yah himself makes a distinction. Let's turn to Exodus chapter 11, please. Verse 7. And viewing audience, we are not, once again, sitting here trying to entertain you and give you our own opinion. Yes, we've talked about some things that would constitute our own opinion based on our own walks in our life, but we're backing this thing up with chapter and verse. And if you find you have a problem with it, you have a problem with the Father. You need to come to terms with Him. Not us.
Right.
It is not us that you hate, because we know you don't like us. That's why you don't come and visit us. But that's cool, too. As long as this television ministry continues, you stay at home, you learn. It ain't necessarily about having to come to a congregation where somebody is teaching. It's about learning what the Father's Word is, being led by His Spirit to find yourself at the first resurrection if you have to die in this particular age. Turn with us to Exodus chapter 11, verse 7. And watch what the Father's got to say. Go ahead, Elder. Uh-huh.
You want me to read that?
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how Yah doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
Whoa. Now, this is before the final plague. Out of those 10 plagues, the death to the firstborn. And one thing that always blows my mind, both of you, when I talk to people, and I make efforts to reach those who are bound in this Egyptology doctrine. You know, everything that's black is cool for them because all the ancient civilization they see is ancient Egypt. But they don't understand ancient Assyria, ancient Babylon, the ancient Elamites. You understand what I'm saying? But for them, ancient Egypt is the best thing. One thing about ancient Egypt, I'm going to tell you all, and the viewer knows, if you dealing with this ancient Egyptian theme, Isis, Horus, Set, all that stuff, Osiris, when Yah rolled through ancient Egypt with these 10 plagues, where was your gods at?
Yep.
Where was your God that made sure you got up in the morning, that watched over you while you slept? He had nothing to say because he don't exist. When the creator of your very life breath, your soul, took that spirit back from the firstborn, you, and not even a dog, wagged his tongue against the children of Israel. Because Yah makes a difference between us and the Egyptians. The Egyptians today and the Egyptian in that day. Now, we might say, who's the Egyptian today? Maybe you ain't looked on the back of your dollar bill. If you ain't checked that out, maybe you need to go visit Washington, D.C. and ask yourself why an obelisk is in Washington, D.C. Why is a pyramid on the back of your currency? I guess that's all that metaphysical stuff. Well, we'll see. This is Egypt. If you doubt it, read Deuteronomy chapter 28 when Yah promised, he couldn't lie. He swore by himself. He said, I shall send you back into Egypt. Again, in ships. When was the first time we went into Egypt? We walked into Egypt physically.
That's right.
Huh? From the land of Canaan.
That's right.
You don't need no ship to go into Egypt from the land of Canaan.
No, you don't.
Absolutely.
Huh?
And here's the distinguishing point. What nation, not people or
Thank
part
you.
of people,
Thank you.
what nation of people has ever been sent into slavery by ships? Nation. I'm not talking about
Thank you.
bits and pieces
Right.
of a people.
Right.
I'm talking about what nation.
Only us. Only us.
Only us.
Nobody else can lay claim to that.
Watch words. Words will get you every
Sure
time.
will.
Look at that
Sure
word.
will. Sure will. Viewer noise, I want you all to put your eyes on the word in English in verse 7, difference. The word in Hebrew for difference is palah. It is number 6395. Its definition is to distinguish, to separate, to sever. So Yah distinguishes us from everybody else. Yah wanted to sever us from everybody else. Why? This is why. Turn to Deuteronomy, viewing audience, chapter 7, verse 6. Debarim. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. This is why Yah said what he said. And a lot of people don't like this, elders. I find that when you say this to people, whether it be our self-hating people or racist Gentiles, and furthermore, one final thing on this thing about race, there will be no person who considers himself above the so-called American Negro, whether you be white, whether you be Japanese, or whatever you are in your non-melanated state. If you look down on us, and you call yourself a Christian and you hate us simply because right now we just look like we out our mind and we really are drunk but not with wine, you ain't getting into the kingdom. If you have a racist bone in your body, that's going to keep you out the kingdom. I'm letting you know right now. Are we trying to say come and serve and worship us? You better read what's written in Acts chapter 10. Cornelius fell down at the feet of Simon Peter, a man that you would call a black man. He said, no, 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 get on up. I'm a man like you.
That's right.
Huh?
That's what he said.
Ain't no worship.
That's right. Absolutely.
But you're going to have to humble yourself to the fact, as it's written, what was given unto the children of Israel? The oracles of Yah.
Absolutely. Right. And post Yahshua did not Shaul write to the, well, he said Jew, but to the Jew first.
Right.
And then to the Gentile.
To the Gentile. That's right. And we know that Jew stands for the Israelites.
Right.
But look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, if you know this. Go ahead, elders. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
For you are holy. You are a holy people to Yahweh, your El. Yahweh, your El, has chosen you to be a people for his own possession out of all the people who are on the face of the earth.
Wait a minute. He's separating. Yah is making a distinction. You mean to tell me Yah has picked a people who today we can't even take care of ourselves. We are the greatest consumers. We are out of our mind literally. And Yah chose us. It says clearly right here, the word it says for holy in Hebrew is kadosh. Its definition is sacred, either ceremonially or morally. It is derived from the Hebrew word kadash, which means to consecrate, which means set aside or to dedicate. Now you might ask yourself, why Israel? Look at verse 7.
Yahweh did not set his love on you, nor choose you, because you were in number than any of the people.
Not because we were more in number. Go ahead.
For you were the fewest of all people.
Look at verse 8.
But because Yahweh loved you...
Not because nobody got to understand why he loved us. He said, but because Yah has loved you. That's good enough. Is that right?
Right.
We don't need no man to sit back and say, well, that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough for you. He said, I didn't choose you because you was the greatest in number. You were the fewest. But because Yah loved you.
And for those who just heard Elder read that, where it says Yah deals with the few, or it says the fewest of people, you have just heard, or you just read one of Yah's MOs.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
This is one of his MOs. If you, excuse me, if you say that you want to understand the Father, you want to know the Father, this is one of the things that you will come to know.
That's right.
How he is and how he works.
That's right.
He deals with the fewest.
That's right.
That's one of his MOs.
Absolutely.
Just a little tip there.
Absolutely.
But because Yahweh loved you and keep the oath which he swore to your forefathers, Yahweh brought you out by a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of slavery, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, Egypt.
Absolutely. Elder, you had something else you want to share with us. You about to read something? Where are you taking us
Amos 3 and 2.
All right. You know, we're going to Amos or Amos chapter 3, verse 2. Please turn there with us. We do not want you just to listen to us and take what we're saying for granted or believe us. We have 5 minutes to go. Ain't that something? That's okay. We got one more show. We're going to lay this thing out for you all. Right. Amos chapter 3, verse 2. Go ahead, Elder.
Listen to this. He says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Is
that more separation? Is that more distinction?
But in case you don't understand that, let me go back to verse 1.
Please do.
Listen to this. It says, hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, this is him talking to you.
Right.
He says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Then he says, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquity. Where we at?
Is this why this is happening to us then?
Hey, of course.
Oh, so we ain't here because we stupid.
No.
We're not here because, you know, the black man is unable to gather his thoughts. You know, we was walking around in loincloths and stuff like that, savages. Oh, so we're here because we sinned against the Father.
That's it.
And a lot of us think that it's a black and white thing.
Sure do.
Absolutely not.
Nothing to do with that
Nothing
mess.
to do with black and white.
And that's a distraction,
nothing
technically.
whatsoever. Absolutely.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely nothing at all.
Nothing whatsoever. Viewing audience, we want to take you to a few final things before we close this segment out. Please tune in to our part 2 of Come Out of Her, My People, the call to separate. The final things we're going to show you are some examples made by the Messiah himself of a separation, a division in the eyes of the Father. Let us turn to chapter 13 of Matthew, verse 36. And we may just end with that particular one for this particular part, which is part 1. We're going to Matthew chapter 13, verse 36, and I believe we have under 2.5 minutes to go.
Okay.
Please, go ahead.
Read that. Then Yeshua sent to the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field.
Oh, the tares of the field. So there was some good seed planted, and it grew up as wheat.
That's
and there
right.
was some tare put in. Go ahead, Elder.
Great parable.
Right,
37. He answered and said unto them,
right,
He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man.
right.
The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom.
We need to set that aside right there, because
Absolutely.
there's a severing.
Absolutely.
Meaning if everybody was alike, it wouldn't be, here go the children of the
right.
kingdom right here. Go ahead, Elder.
That's right. Again, the field is the world,
Right.
and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. But the tares are the children of the wicked one.
So there is a separation in.
Absolutely.
Right.
So Yah has children and Satan has children. Go ahead, Elder.
The enemy that sowed them is the devil.
Yes.
The harvest is the end of the world.
Or the age, because we know this is a world without end.
Yeah.
This is so profound, people.
Yeah.
The harvest is the end of the world. The harvest is the end of the world.
Right.
And the reapers are the angels.
Go ahead.
Or the Malachim.
Right.
As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of the world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, or Malachim, and they shall gather out his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity.
And what's going to happen to him, Elder, verse 42?
And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be a wailing and a gnashing of teeth.
Viewing audience, if you just look at that under 1 minute to go here, don't you see all those distinctions? Here it is. What's the repository of the condemned? The lake of fire. What's the place where the righteous are going to enjoy eternity? The kingdom.
That's right. That's
But you
right.
see the tares, there's a distinction. Here's the world. They're no longer all together.
Right.
Here go the children of the kingdom, the children of the wicked one. Viewing audience, prayerfully, you've been looking at this, and you see